Yeah.
If there's more than one encounter before your short rest, unlucky. You just don't have
Yeah.
the first, 6th, or 10th, or 14th level feature for that fight.
Yeah, that's not ideal.
Why do people like this piece of crap?
Hello, friends. Robert Bevan here, author of the Caverns Creatures series of comedy fantasy novels and short stories. With me is Sam West, and today is another, what is it?
Warlock Wednesday.
Warlock Wednesday.
We're
Ah,
running through all of these Warlock patrons.
yeah,
We're
we just
almost
got,
through all of them.
including this one, we got 3 more.
Mm-hmm. Two of
Um,
them are kind of the same because one of
yeah,
them was a mistake and the other one fixed it. So it's really like we have one more, but after this, but we have to talk
it
about it.
will be 2 more videos.
Oh yeah, I'm really excited to talk
Um,
about the grave mistake that was the Undying. But for this week, we're talking about another mistake. Got him. It's Hexblade. I am not a fan of Hexblades.
no, all right, well, it's a very popular one,
Realistically,
I'm led to believe.
yeah, I know. That's what bums me out about it.
Well, let's find out why.
Okay, so like all Warlock subclasses, this one gets an expanded spell list. And I think, Bob, if you just like glance through it, you'll already start to pinpoint some errors that I think you might figure I have
Well,
with this.
I know you don't like smite spells, but that's because generally they're exclusive to paladins, and almost none of them are better options than just using your divine smite.
Yeah, generally speaking.
But um, with what I've been now learning about warlocks and the kind of spells they value, these don't really cover those bases.
Not even a little bit. They're like the antithesis of what Warlocks are looking for, actually. So the lists are really important for most of the subclasses. Normally, it lets you expand out your fantasy in a little bit more interesting ways. It diversifies what the Warlocks kind of look like. Fathomless Warlock versus Great Old One Warlock, despite having similarities in like tentacle old gods kind of stuff, they look and play really different. Well, one because Great Old One kind of sucks, but two because they have a really discernibly different spell list that they're getting access to. They're getting different things that help them do and play different ways. Hexblades, that you can learn from these. You don't get to automatically prepare them like Cleric or anything. Hexblade's list is uniquely bad on Warlock in almost every front. So your first level options are Shield, which is a fantastic spell on every class that isn't Warlock, and Wrathful Smite, which is not even a good spell on the class that gets it. And it is even worse on Warlock than it is on Paladins, because when you're a Warlock, what you really want your spell slots to be doing, you get like 2 of them, 2 per short rest. You want them to have either long duration, so that you can stick it up for a while and get a lot of juice out of it. So while you're, full casters or you're even half casters are casting 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 spells per encounter by like 5th level, you can still get some juice out of the 2 that you get per the short rest. Neither Shield nor Wrathful might even remotely come close to justifying their casts for those precious 2 slots.
All right. I'm going to make a small argument for Shield.
Okay.
Seeing that you are a Hexblade,
Mm-hmm.
you, more so than other warlocks, perhaps you want to be fighting on the front lines. Perhaps you're
Absolutely.
you're bulking up with your medium armor. You got your shield, got your weapon, charging into battle. Um, yeah. So you get two spells per short rest. I don't think it's yes. I know. I don't think it's entirely out of line because you're going to want to spend a lot of your turns just hacking away at your enemies. Um, so you make a calculation. How much damage or how many times do you think you'll be hit? How much damage you expect to be taking? But when you miscalculate, when your figures are off just a little bit, you take one big blow that wipes you out. Now you got shield.
So, in concept, I get what you're saying. In practice, you'll never want to cast it anyway, right? In practice, you're going to want proactive spells. In practice, you're going to want to have spells that have large impacts on reducing enemy hit points normally. Hexblades often are going to want bigger, splashier. I want to say Hexblades. I'm going to lump in every single option that wants to take Pact of the Blade, right? Because that's functionally what Hexblade was designed to do. They were like, okay, Pact of the Blade kind of sucks. What if we make a subclass that just is Pact of the Blade? That's kind of what Hexblade exists to serve, right? You don't really have room to do the shield thing because unlike martial characters that all they do is attack, you do get spells, and you would like those spells to do a lot of other things. And a lot of those other things typically involves out-of-combat utility. Often involves high damage and area effects. It involves mind control, saber dies. There are a lot of powerful effects that you're going to want access to because spellcasting gives you to them. Comparing, especially a shield, when you're using 4th level spells, you automatically go, oh, this is a 4th level spell for +5 AC in the round, or a banishment, or a 4th level summon effect, or you always have to upcast it. You're spending a resource that is never going to be matched to what the upper level options are giving you, even for that single round of, well, I'm probably not going to get hit here. Probably not getting hit here is good. I think you would rather have 3 levels in Sorcerer for their 1st level spell slots to use for those shields than you would want to have, you spending your precious 2 or 3 pack slots on this.
It is a lot harder to justify when you're talking about 4th and 5th level slots, yeah.
And that comes online at 3rd level, right? Like that's immediately it bumps up to 2nd level slots and you get 2 of them. And at 1st level, you get
I'm
one
okay.
short rest spell slot. And I'm like,
I'm okay with blowing a 2nd level slot on it. Third level, there's a lot of really good 3rd level spells that I'd prefer to have over shield. Yes.
Wrathful Might is kind of the same boat, but just like to such a substantially larger degree, because shield, like there's an argument that shield just has the raw power, right? Shield is a genuinely powerful effect to say +5 AC means maybe the 4 things attacking me this round all now have to miss whenever you know you were going to get hit. That's useful sometimes. Wrathful Might is a bonus D6 psychic damage. Doesn't even scale with level. If you take this and use a 4th level slot on it, guess how much damage you do, Bob? 1d6.
Yep.
That's it. It can frighten the thing, maybe. Not worth a spell slot. Literally ever, even at 1st level. 2nd level gives you Blur, which is a spell that I am not particularly high on because of its cost. Like, this takes an action to set up. It only lasts a minute. It requires you concentrate on it. It imposes a disadvantage on attack rolls against you, sure, but you're also trying to take hits, so finding the window in combat where you want to cast Blur isn't great. And again, it doesn't scale. You cast 3rd level slots on Blur. You cast 4th level slots on Blur. You cast 5th level slots on Blur. You can't afford that. It's not nearly good enough. The exact same problem then that Wrathful Smite has comes with Branding Smite, but you have other nice things to say about the spell, I'm sure.
All right, not so much for Warlock.
This is the one that they can't become invisible again. Or so you can see them if they're invisible, but that doesn't remove the bonuses of invisibility, so it just doesn't work.
Oh god.
Yeah, it's kind of a mess. 3rd level gives you Blink, which I think you actually are more of a fan than I am, because you get like teleport out and out of existence. It's really fickle, and again, sure doesn't scale with level. So if you get to a 7th level, this is a 4th level slot for a 3rd level spell. Elemental Weapon is on hit damage that you would expect to kind of want on someone that's making attack rolls, but if you're making melee attacks, this thing has concentration on it, and you're doing a bonus D4 damage and a +1 to hit. So like you might get 4-6 attacks off if you keep this up for 3 rounds. If you really invest into your concentration, which you kind of have to, maybe you're getting 64 to 8d4 damage out of this thing, but like it seems really scuffed to me.
Yeah, I think there's fun to be had with Blink, but it's not so much on Warlock. It's not that fun.
It's kind of cute here, right? Because like you're like, oh, I attack with my greatsword twice, then I pop out of existence, then I pop in behind someone and attack twice, but you don't get to control it. And there's a lot of the variability is really a big service to the spell, I think. But a lot of people probably can have fun with it. I imagine you like that kind of variance, so I get it. 4th level, we're 0 for 6 as far as spells that I want to put on my character sheet as a Warlock. So that's not a great place to start. Normally I want like half of these to be good. 4th level doesn't help. You get the Phantasmal Killer, which is a mental sort of, you mix an evil killer in someone's mind that's illusory that does some damage to them, 40-10 psychic damage, but like so many things have to go right for this to do anything. So first they make a whiz save, and if they fail it, they're frightened. And then at the end of each turn, it makes another save. And if it fails that save, it takes 40/10 damage. If it passes any of the saves, the spell ends. So you need like 6 things to go right. This is an action to set out. Again, it takes your concentration. It's a truly, truly, truly awful spell. And they also give you Staggering Smite, which is another one of these smite effects that you're just like, oh, this is doing a bonus 46 psychic damage for a 4th level spell slot, for my bonus action, for my concentration.
Well, what else is it doing?
The target makes a whiz save on a failed save, is a disadvantage on attack rolls and ability checks, and can't take reactions until the end of its next turn. So 1 turn, if it fails a save, it has disadvantage on its stuff.
Yeah, it's not enough.
I don't think so. It is the closest yet. This is the closest one, I think. This is the smite you probably want to cast the most. That's not true. This next one's pretty good. So the last one we get is Banishing Smite, which is almost like casting Banishment, but it can't target 2 things. It has to target 1 thing, and you have to hit it. And it has to have fewer than 50 hit points for it to go away. So there's like some asterisks there, especially because you're also doing 5 to 10 damage to it, so you might just want to kill it. And there's like a bunch of little question marks I have, like, when is this good? Is this ever good? Probably not. Just don't put it in your character sheet. Finally, though, we do end on a real high note. We get Cone of Cold. Hey, it's Fireball in a gigantic area, and it scales the same way. That's pretty good. I like Cone of Cold. 1.5
Sure,
out of 10. Yeah. Not a bad rate, right, for spells?
No.
Yeah, that's where we start, and it's genuinely a big problem. Not getting any reasonable spells to use in combat is not good when you're playing a Warlock. You will feel like a fighter that has a couple of like smites. You will feel like a half of a paladin using these abilities, as opposed
I don't think you're gonna feel like that because you're not picking any of these. I mean, you still have Warlock spells to choose from.
True. You'll feel like a fighter that has Warlock spells, which is
Yes.
what most of the other Blade options do. So I'll come around in the end and talk about why I think this is overall a large issue after we cover all the features. So we start with 2 features. Hexblades. I'll start with Hex Warrior because it's the bread and butter one. So first level, you acquire the training necessary to effectively arm yourself in battle. You get proficiency in medium armor, shields, and martial weapons. Great, sure. The influence of your patient allows you to mystically channel your will through a particular weapon. Whenever you finish a long rest, you can touch one weapon that you are proficient with that lacks the 2-handed property. Oy. When you attack with that weapon, you can use your charisma modifier instead of your strength or dex modifier for the attack and damage rolls. The benefit lasts until you finish a long rest. If you later get it Plaque of the Blade feature, even name calls it out here because they're like, oh, you have to take this with this option. This benefit extends to every pack weapon you conjure that feature, no matter the weapon's type. So this is an event. Eventually, you get a great sword. You start with a long sword. You start with a one-handed weapon of some nature, and then eventually you get, oh, and now I have a 2d6 weapon. Is what this eventually evolves into. But for the most part, this is just martial weapon proficiencies. This is what the martial characters start with, and you get it as a feature here. Nifty. Anything meaningful to say about it?
No.
Shields are useful. If you want to do the one-handed thing plus shield, you can probably be pretty tanky with this. The actual feature that people tend to get excited about is Hexblade's Curse. So starting at first level, you get the ability to place a baleful curse on someone. As a bonus action, choose one creature you can see within 30 feet of you. The target is cursed for 1 minute. The curse ends early. If the target dies, you die or you are incapacitated. Until it ends, you gain the following benefits. You gain a bonus to damage rolls against the cursed target. The bonus equals your proficiency bonus. So 2. Okay, 2 extra damage. Attack rolls you make against the cursed target. Any attack roll you make against the cursed card. Any attack roll you make against the cursed target is a critical hit on a roll of a 19 or 20 on the d20. So you crit on 19s. Okay, cool. If the cursed target dies, you gain hit points equal to your Warlock level plus charisma modifier. You can use this feature once per short rest. 1 time.
Yeah, that takes a little bit of the fun out of it, but yeah, for an important enemy, I guess it's pretty cool.
What if you're against 4 ogres? Do you get a feature against one of those 4 ogres?
Well, I don't know. It depends on what else I'm doing that day.
That you're just not using it all in the fight?
Well, not if later on I'm going to be going to take on the Ogre Lord.
In the Ogre Lord fight, then, after you've skipped out on having a Hexblade's Curse for the entire first encounter, so all you've had is martial weapon proficiency for that first encounter, you go into the second encounter, and there's the Ogre Warlord and 3 of their lackeys, and you're like, okay, well, I guess I'll just do the Ogre Warlord and bum rush it, right? Or what if 2 other creatures engage you? What if you can't bum rush the boss? What if you have to do 12 different other things because battle maps include more than a single target?
Well, then, I mean, it's a bonus action. I'll fight the lackeys until I can get a clear run in to get the Ogre Lord, and then I'll turn it on.
All while not using any features.
Yeah.
I'm really low on this feature.
Maybe I'll use one of my awesome spells.
Sure didn't get it from this subclass.
Um,
Uh,
and I know you probably don't like the crit on 19,
that's
but
fine.
that's the sort of thing that really suckers me in.
I would be into it if you could use it more than once.
Yeah, yeah,
If you could do it
definitely.
like 3 or 4 times per long short rest, I'd be like, oh, okay. So you're like, you kind of get to pick and choose which enemies and which fights you want to be super good at, and the other ones you won't be. Getting one just means, oh, there's more than two, there's more than a fight, or there's more than 3 creatures in a fight. Don't have a feature.
Yeah.
At least for most of them. And the feature you do have is +2 to damage and crits on 19s. A little bit of healing at the back end of that. I am unimpressed.
Well, yeah, the healing doesn't impress me much because, like I said, I want to use this on the boss. And after he dies, I mean, yeah, the battle's pretty much won, and I value that healing less.
You'd want to use it on like a mid villain whenever you're taking hits, then you can kill that thing mid fight, get a big boost, then you can go take on whatever's left.
Yeah.
You can still use it in that case, but then you're not going to have the big damage bumps to the things you care about. You're not going to have the crit things against the big final enemies and stuff like that, right? So like,
Yeah.
this entire feature reads and plays very clunkily. The most of the power here is in martial weapon proficiencies, medium armor, and a shield. And that's fine. You don't have to like make any amount of conscious thought about investing your ability scores because you just go, oh, charisma, constitution, done. And that's the whole build. So like it's easy. I like that it's easy, that it's an on-ramp for some people. I just want the other feature to be more than once usable. I want there to be a supporting spell list would help a lot for a first level character. There's a lot of traps here that if new people do go, I want to play a Pact of the Blade, Hexblade kind of character, I think that sounds cool. If they take the spells it tells you to, you'll have a Hexblade curse, some really low impact spells, and you'll be like, wow, I do feel worse than the regular fighter. At least he always gets to his plus to hit.
Yeah,
I'm
you
not
make a good
fan.
point there.
Yeah, it is really clunky. 6th level, we get a cursed spectre. So starting at 6th level, you can curse the soul of a person you slay, temporarily binding them in your service. When you slay a humanoid, you can cause its spirit to rise from a corpse as a spectre. This is just like the mechanical spectre. When the spectre appears, it gains temporary hit points equal to half your warlock level. Roll initiative for it. It should attack after your turn. This is a mistake. They fixed this. I don't know why they printed it this way. Anyway, roll initiative for the spectre, which has its own turns. It obeys your verbal commands and gains a special bonus to its attack roll equal to your charisma modifier. Neat. The spectre remains in your service until you end a long rest, at which point it vanishes into the afterlife. Once you bind a spectre, you can't again until you finish a long rest. So this is kind of like a spectre companion kind of thing. That's kind of neat.
Yeah.
I like that a lot, actually.
Okay, good. Yeah, I was wondering how you're gonna crap on this one, but
Now, this
yeah,
is
it feels
like
pretty
definitely their best feature. It's not
good.
particularly close either, I don't think.
All right,
It
now,
lasts forever.
yeah, a specter. That is a monster in the manual, correct?
Sure is. It's got an
All
AC
right,
of 12,
now,
22 hit points, and a 50-foot fly speed.
all right, so 22 hit points plus the temporary hit points here. Okay, I was a little bit confused by that.
Yes. So you'll get whatever 10 HP you grant it plus the 22 base that it has. It's CR1. Things of note about it, it's immune to basically every condition, so that's kind of neat. It's resistant to basically every damage type, which is also kind of neat. It's got acid, cold, fire, lightning, thunder, bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing from non-magical attack, resistance to all that. So this has a
Wow.
lot of hit points. This is going to take some hits. It can move through space. It's got incorporeal movement. It does also have sunlight sensitivity, so you want to make sure you're playing like an actual edgy in the dark kind of character.
I'm a warlock.
Yeah, agreed. Life Drain is its big ability. It's a melee spell attack. It adds +4 to hit plus your charisma modifier, so it'll get like +7 to hit. Is kind of where, or sorry, +9 to hit, where it caps out. It does 3d6 damage. It has a DC 10 con save that never increases, so you should basically always expect everything to pass the DC 10 con save, which means this is usually just like a bonus free summonal pad on a hit points that's gonna life drain people for 3d6 damage. And you should rarely expect the con save to ever get failed. If it does, it reduces max HP, which also
Oh, that's
really
what the life
doesn't
drain
matter.
does.
Yeah. So
Oh.
it mainly is just 3d6 on hit. It flies around and hits some things. It's really just a beat stick with a fly speed. And hey, a beat stick with a fly speed for free is pretty good. I think this is,
That's,
again,
I
not
mean,
particularly close to the best feature they get.
this is not something you have to concentrate on either.
Nope. Huge
Yeah,
perk to it.
so you can have a specter, a summon thing going at the same time.
Yeah, and then you took Eldritch Mind, so you can have a resilient con save, so you're making sure that your concentration stays up on the other one too. And then you got 2 undead running around killing things. That's kind of cool. It has nothing to do with the weapon attacks, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. I like this gets a feature that's different than extra attack. That's good. 10th level is a feature. So you get Armor of Hexes. At 10th level, your hex grows more powerful. If the target cursed by your Hexblade curse hits you with an attack roll, you can use your reaction to roll a d6. On a 4 or higher, the attack misses you, regardless of its roll. That's the only feature you get here. And this is only good against one creature.
Yeah, that's true, but I don't hate this. This is all right. You curse somebody, now you have this. You fight other people, and
Then you
you know,
lose all the benefits from Hexward or from Hexblade's Curse.
except that this guy's trying to beat on you the whole time, but he misses half the time.
What if they just go and hit your buddies instead? They go, oh, it's hard to hit you. All right, screw that guy. Now what?
Well, I don't know. Again, I guess it depends on party composition. Maybe
In what composition doesn't that just still happen?
well, everybody else is really far away. You're the only one in there.
So you're just getting dogpiled? And
Yeah.
one of them is going to have a worse time hitting you? One of them. Once per short rest, one of them will have a harder time hitting you.
I don't know. That's the best I could come up with.
Getting one use of Hexblade's Curse makes this feature awful. It's like you have to duel some kind of villain. You have to make sure they're attacking you. And if they aren't specifically attacking you, and you specifically, like, there's so many caveats already with Hexblade's Curse being a decent, like, usable bump in damage or any effectiveness. Armor of Hexes as a defensive boon is even more flimsy, because now you don't just need, like, if you're against a dragon, oh, it's the only thing in the encounter. Great, I'm going to Hexblade's Curse it. Well, Armor of Hexes, it might just opt to ignore you. It still might try and hit the Paladin, the Wizard, the Cleric, the other 3 members of your party running around. A fourth of the time if it swings a claw at you, hey, sometimes it misses. But the rest of the time, this doesn't have text. And in every other encounter, this doesn't have text.
Well, I don't know. I feel like it's gonna. I feel like it's better than you're giving it credit for.
It's not. I promise you it isn't. One
Okay.
creature, Bob. What happens when you're against 8? What happens when you're going 2 encounters per long rest and there's
Yes,
6 creatures and 4 creatures?
It gets less effective the more
It's
creatures you're fighting against. Sure.
which is, as you get in the upper tiers, how more encounters are shaped. Like,
Well,
as a
I mean,
DM, my countermeasures to higher level parties require the necessity of more creatures, because spellcasters get things like banishment, get things like fireball, get things that create area of effects of damage. The marshals are going to be shredding through things with 30 to 40 hit points, right? And they're supposed to do that, so I have to throw more things at them unless I want them to just have an outrageous action advantage, stun lock something, and murder it to death. You have to put more things at players, which makes Hexblade's Curse scale substantially worse as the game goes on. It just gets worse and worse and worse and worse and worse as you progress.
Okay, I can see that.
It's awful. Genuinely a non-feature here. We end on Master of Hexes. Starting at 14th level, you can spread your Hexblade's Curse from a slain creature to another creature. This should be in the level 1 text.
Yes.
When the creature cursed by your Hexblade Curse dies, you can apply the curse to a different creature you can see within 30 feet of you, provided you aren't incapacitated. When you apply the curse this way, you don't regain hit points from the death of the previously cursed creature. So you still only get the one batch of hit points at the end of the fight instead of mid-fight when you'd want it, or you don't get the hex to keep moving around. So that's a bummer.
The hit points is the least exciting feature for me. But yeah, I agree with you. This is your 14th level feature fixes your first level feature.
For one encounter still, right? Like this
For
still
one
is
encounter, yeah.
If there's more than one encounter before your short rest, unlucky. You just don't have the first, 6th or 10th or 14th level feature for that fight.
Yeah, that's not ideal.
Why do people like this piece of crap? Is it literally just for a Curse Spectre? I get it. I think a Curse Spectre is sweet. It should just be like in Undead, though. It's the most out of left field ability to get, but it's a cool ability that just gives you a Pet Spectre. I like it. The rest of this is a combination to play a Blade Lock that is marginally better at doing the Blade Lock thing. Like, against one creature per short rest, you will be better as a Blade Lock. You should take any other subclass over this. You should take Fiend, because then they give you this charisma, temp HP gaining thing. You actually get a supportive spell list that gives you some battery, so you've got a lot of flexibility. It's like, I attack him with the Greatsword twice, then I throw some fireballs around, doing all kinds of cool stuff. All this does is solve the mad problem that Warlocks tend to have, where you want a high dex, high con, high charisma. This kind of lets you just go high con, high charisma, but you don't even necessarily, like, it isn't that big of an issue for a lot of builds. You can have a great time on Warlocks, especially Black to the Blade Warlocks, without needing to, like, take this kind of option.
All right, yeah, you've sold me on this one. Yeah, I mean, even when with Master of Hexes, you just get it for one fight. That's not great.
And it's
The
just your
rest of
first
the
level feature
time,
again.
yes, and the rest of the time you got no features.
You got a spectre.
Yeah, all right, you got a specter.
That's all. Again, it doesn't scale well into the late game, but that's okay. You still get a spectre once per long rest. That's kind of cool.
All right, well,
Uh,
all right, I take that back then. Um, you say you get a specter, but if it doesn't matter by the time you get Master of Hexes, then you got no features.
none left. I'm gonna give this thing a big fat F. I really think it deserves it. I think people love this thing. I don't get it. If all you want out of your subclass options is not have to think about your ability scores, this will do that. And that is literally all that it does. It gives you armor proficiency, and it gives you not having to think about your ability scores. At that point, play a fighter and take a 2-level dip in Warlock, if that's what you're like trying to do. Right? You can still play a full martial character, get 5 in fighter, 2 in Warlock. You'll be doing some Eldritch Dark nonsense, but then you'll also have like a good subclass. You could also have the undead. You could also have like, the Fae or Fiend even. You could even go with something like Fathomless. I love Fathomless. It's a sweet little
Yeah.
option. All of those will play better than this ever can. Don't play Hexblades. If you like Pact of the Blade, that's great. You take Thirsting Blade, you take Pact of the Blade, and you just take other things that let you kind of flexibly do other options in combat. You should not need to rely on this subclass to function in this form.
Oh man, I know we're gonna get some blowback for this, but I gotta agree with you. Yeah, F it is. This is like you get no spells and a barely feature. And yeah, the Spectre's cool. But, oh man, F it is. Sorry guys. I feel like well, I don't know. Let us know why we're wrong
If you're doing
in
one
the
fight per long
comments.
rest, and that's against like 1 or 2 enemies, this will be doing its thing all the time. The
Yep.
moment you leave that realm of existence, this sure doesn't do anything.
All right. Well, that was Hexblade. We finally got here and shit all over it. All right. Well, thank you, Sam, and thank you everyone for joining us. Please let us know what you think down in the comments. I'd really love to hear it. I know this is a popular subclass, and what did we miss? Let us know. Like, subscribe, and we'll see you next time. Bye bye.